welcome people. I cannot see your faces, which is, I would say, kind of odd. I think that I'm used to seeing people, even though we're basically running, I would say, like webinars through Zoom. We can see your faces, so I know that we have like 23 people basically joining so far. Jackson Wu just entered to the session. And if you guys basically want to just like ask questions, please, you can easily use, I would say, the chat here, and I'll be happy like to answer the questions once you guys, every time that you're having a question. So being said that, I'm going to start the session, which the name is Acquisition is Getting Harder, but Your Customers Can Save You, which I would say, like, I can summarize, this is a HubSpot story. And what I mean with this is actually like, these are all of like the mistakes that we basically like did along the way, and basically what are the things that we would have done differently in 15 years as a company. So I think that there's a lot of learnings in here that you can actually like, there's a lot of takeaways that you can just like implement in your companies. So I think that this is a valuable session. And if I can talk about like, for example, about growth and about like customer service, which is, I would say, the main tactic that we're going to talk about like in the next like 60 minutes, I truly believe that basically like customer retention as a tactic is what differentiates the unicorn companies, basically the plus 1 billion valuation companies, and the rest of the companies. If you really want to understand like how to basically become a successful startup, I think that the growth mechanics that we're going to explore in the session are going to be critical. So having said that, let's jump into the session, and let me please present myself. My name is Javier Gottschlich. I am from Chile, South America. I have like more than 8 years of experience working with startups, advising startups, investing in startups. I did my master's at MIT. Basically, was a combination between management and engineering. And some of the things that I've done in the past is co-founded an acceleration program in Chile, co-founded an investment fund in Chile. I'm also a former founder. Sadly, like I'm not rich yet. This was like I was a founder of a failed startup, which was Localbox. We basically were trying to build the Chilean Yelp. And I'm also, I would say, huge fan not only of soccer, but also about like, I would say, technology and innovation in general. So any question that you might have, not only related to the session, but related to technology, we can just like discuss it. Also, I would love for this session to be like some sort of like conversation. I know that you cannot unmute yourselves, but if you have any question, please like use the chat. I'll be happy like to take them. And if we continue with basically like the conversation, so this is basically the title of this talk: Acquisition is Getting Harder, but Your Customer Can Save You. And what we're going to explore here is basically these 5 topics. First, why go-to-market is getting harder. These are going to be like the 2 first points of like this session. Third, we're going to basically explore how growth mechanics work. What is the growth math that you guys need to understand to basically understand fully what are the challenges of growing a team. And finally, I'm going to teach you how to re-engineer that math, and what is the playbook, or what are the tactics that you can put in place in each one of the stages to basically be successful. And if we go next, we have no questions in the chat. So first, I want to like start this by saying that there's 3 observations about growth. First is that your new business TAM, basically the market size, is finite. Second, that your best revenue, or basically like the cheapest revenue that you can get, is actually repeated revenue. And third, growth basically is a combination of both of these like 2 observations. You need both new revenue and recurrent revenue like to win. And first, we're going to basically start this conversation with getting new customers. So I'm going to explain to you guys, why is marketing getting harder? And if I can click. And the first point that I want to signal here is much of the modern marketing is actually dependent on getting found online through Google, through Facebook, through website, through whatever you want. And Google, I would say, like in the last couple of years, has made significant changes in the basically in the way that they operate, and it has made more difficult to basically like for companies to create, I would say, a scalable model to do marketing. This is the first thing. The second thing is actually like how can we basically like understand this? It's actually like first, future snippets and people are basically like claiming some space in the Google search. So basically like what your experience is actually like in your site will not be published in Google right away, but basically you're going to find all of these snippets. Hey, how do I get to this place? Or these Google questions. The third point is actually that paid and sponsored results now take up to your entire screen. So basically, if you want to position also like in Google, maybe you will need to pay. This is why I would say it is getting harder and harder to do marketing. Two of the other trends that I can signal here is actually these two. The first one is the content CAC is growing quicker than paid CAC. So basically like customer acquisition cost has risen 50% in the last 5 years, and organic customer acquisition cost is increasing at a higher rate than paid customer acquisition cost or CAC. And also like content salaries have risen too. So basically like what we're experiencing is that doing marketing, it is not only harder, but also is basically like getting more expensive. The third signal that we can actually like see in the market is something that might have been there like for a while, I would say, which is trust. Trust in marketing is just like eroding. Like for example, the information that we have in Hubspot is that from our customers, 50% of our customers do not trust businesses that they pay. 65% of the customers do not trust press releases, and 71% of customers do not trust social ads. So again, trust is a huge issue. And if these last reasons were not enough, now we have GDPR. GDPR goes, for the people that are not aware, goes for General Data Protection Regulation, which are all the regulations that businesses must comply to. And basically, this regulates how businesses are allowed to obtain, to store, manage, or process any personal data from any citizens. This is not only being, I would say, implemented in Europe, but also it has been implemented in the US as well. And this limits marketing power. And in a nutshell, basically, why marketing is getting harder is because of all of these reasons. Searching, it's reclaiming its results. Social is walling off. Content is getting more expensive. Trust is still down or is down. And GDPR, well, is basically making like marketeers' life more difficult. And this is not enough. This is actually just like one part of the problem, which is like on the marketing side. On the sales side, we also have a couple of problems that we can actually observe. First, for example, prospecting has gotten harder. And this, I would say, like some information that we got from the companies that attended Inbound 2018, which is like the marketing conference that we run every single year. And basically what we see in here is that we ask businesses, what is more difficult to do in sales compared to 2 to 3 years ago? And these were the results. In the top of the list, we got getting a response from prospects, engaging multiple decision makers, closing deals, connecting via phone, identifying and prospecting good leads. And this is the information that we're basically like gathering. So in summary, like as the title says, prospecting is getting harder and harder. And if that was not enough, what we can see in here, it is actually that sales has a trust problem too. This is also like one of the surveys that we normally run through our customers, and we ask them, who do you consider to be trustworthy? In the higher end, we have firefighters with 61%, doctors, scientists, but on the lower end, we have salespeople. And this is interesting. I would say like this is a phenomena that we have all experienced. People rely on word of mouth or customers more than salespeople. And also salespeople, again, joins basically like the marketeers among one of like the least trusted professions. If this was not only enough, again, once again, consumers are getting more and more impatient. In today's business, I would say speed is actually everything. And what we have basically found out is that patient wears out at 30 minutes. Some of the statistics that I can share with you is 82% of the prospects say immediacy is important in the sales process. And 90% of customers say immediacy is important in the support process. This is not only related to sales, this is also related to support. And the other statistic that I can actually share with you, which is, I would say, really interesting, this is one of like the last insights that we got, it is that if your business replies to a potential customer within the first 3 minutes, the likelihood of basically like closing that deal goes up to 31x. So what I want to tell you is that if you reply to a potential customer in the first 3 minutes, you will have 30 more times likelihood of basically closing that sale. So basically, speed is actually everything, guys. And the last problem of sales, it is actually that as you grow, your acquisition math gets increasingly worse. And you will ask me, how is this possible? And I want to show you this with an example. Let's say that you start with 10 customers. You lose 3, so basically you have a churn of 30%. You have 1 sales rep who acquires 5 new customers. And again, from which 3 of them are basically a replacement for the customer that you lost. What happens? Let's see this, how the math scales. So if we have 10 customers, 3 are churning, 5 of them are replacing, 5 of them are new customers. You need, for a company that has an install base of 10 people, just 1 sales guy. If we basically like grow the install base, what is happening here, for example, let's say that you have like 100 existing customers. This is the third case. If you basically have a churn of 30%, the churn customers are going to be 30. So basically to acquire 5 new customers, you will need 7 salespeople. Again, and this gets worse and worse and worse. Let's review, for example, this fourth example. Let's say that you have an install base of 1,000 customers. And basically your churn is actually 30%. So in order to acquire, again, 5 new customers, so basically like get 300 to basically replace the ones that you lost, plus get just like 5, you will need this amount of salespeople, which is like just crazy. And churn, and this is just like for math nerds, churn is a rate, acquisition is a volume. Basically what we have in here is that the math doesn't work. So also I would say in a nutshell, like what are the problems that we're seeing in here is, 1, cold outreach is eroding. 2, salespeople have a bad reputation. 3, the tyranny of basically the immediate, like just like customer are asking for businesses to increase their speed. And as I was telling you, the math of basically growing your sales team bites at scale. So the greater your install base is, the greater your problems will be in terms of scaling your salespeople. However, and this is actually like what is interesting. Maybe, and this is actually what we have seen, maybe your customers can save you. And this, I would say, like the main topic of this talk is I'm going to explain you what were the mistakes that we did, that we had when we were basically growing up, and how we can actually like re-engineer the math of basically growth economics to basically put you back on track. So I'm going to like make a quick stop of like 30 seconds. I want to ask you like if you guys have any questions, or if you have experienced any of these, I would say, issues. Either your marketing team is having issues to basically like grow, or your sales team is actually like also like having some issues to basically like close some deals. I think that we do not have any questions. We will then continue. Okay, not see any questions in the chat. So guys, this is the example, and we're going to learn how to basically like see this problem of basically growth mechanics. So let's set this as an example, and I'm going to prove you why investing in customers improve and simplify your revenue mechanics or growth mechanics. So first, let's imagine that in the case A, you have $100 to spend. You have 10 customers as basically as install base. You have a churn of 30% in the first case, and that means that you need to basically, and let's assume also that the customer acquisition cost is $10. So basically replacing those 3 customers that you lost, you need to invest like $30 to replace them in the first case. That leaves you $70 to spend basically in new customers. And again, the customer acquisition cost is $10. Let's see what happens if from this $100 you invest just $10 in customer service. What it will happen is that basically 2 of them will churn. So basically what we're doing is reducing the churn rate. And then you will need $20 to replace basically customers that you lost, and that will give you $80 to spend in new customers. What is going to happen? And this is actually like something that is interesting in this, and that is an effect of like implementing customer service. You should be getting positive customer advocacy, therefore you should be getting new customers through referral. And what is happening? Then let's evaluate what is happening in case A and what is happening in case B. We have a higher retention, so basically churn is going down. We have a happier base, which is, I would say, like creating this referral loop or word of mouth to basically like get new customers. You're doing less selling to basically replace the customer that you lost. And again, this, I would say, the critical part, which is like you have a better virality and you have also more flexibility. And this is not only like, I would say, like bringing all of this, I would say, benefits, it is also lowering your cost of acquisition. And you will ask why. So basically, if you were, for example, acquiring the 10 customers, you are not accounting for the new customers that are coming from referrals, which are, I would say, free customers. Therefore, what is happening in this case is that you're getting 11 customers with this plus new customer, and therefore, like the CAC is lowering from $10 a customer to $9.09 dollars a customer. So in a nutshell, like implementing, I would say, this customer retention tactics, what is creating is the following benefits: is improving retention, is basically like improving your net revenue efficiency, it is improving your cost to service of each customer, and it is also like improving, I would say, and this is the key dynamic, it is improving your viral coefficient, which I would say is the key to unlocking this brew dynamics that I was like talking to you about at the beginning of the session, and to become, I would say, a unicorn. And if those were not enough reasons, what I can mention is you also will have better capital flexibility because you will be allocating less money in basically like get back those customers that you lost. And let's check if we have like any questions. We do not. We do not. So Bill and Victoria were like we're sending some messages here. Okay, guys, let's then continue the conversation. And what I want to tell you here is actually that it's never too late to rework your growth mechanics and grow better. I think that this is basically like the point of like this talk. And what I want to tell you as well is the longer you wait to basically fix them, the more painful it will be basically to fix them. And I'm going to show you basically like what happened to us as a company. So today, most likely, guys, you're startup founders. And today you should be somewhere on this curve. You can see the stages of like the founding stage, early stage, mid stage, growth stage, and scale stage. And most likely also this might be your customer success or customer support playbook, which is we have customer and we have a guy that is basically taking care of. And this is actually funny. This was most likely our playbook when we were a young company, not that long ago, and we were basically scaling. And for us at the beginning, I would say that it was all peachy. It was all good. So basically, like if you can see the numbers from the foundation in 2006, we were increasing the number of HubSpot customers by 42% each year. Going from 3 customers in 2006 to 48 the next year, and to more than 8,000 in 2012. Also, HubSpot annual revenue increased by 82%. So basically, like this was, I would say, really good. Until actually it wasn't. And this was something that happened to us when we were growing, when we were scaling, and because we didn't have, I would say, the systems in place, the mindset in place, the tactics in place, we failed. We failed heavily. So what were basically like some of the statistics in 2013? Our churn rate basically like increased 3x. Our investors were completely mad, and it took us, I would say, 6 months to recover from this. And basically, we had to increase the support response time by 15 times. So this is basically the story of how, what, and when. How did this happen? What were the issues? And when basically like were those issues arising? So basically like the takeaway for, I would say, like this talk is learn from our mistakes. And we're going to guide you through all of these, I would say, mistakes. So this is the story, and this were basically like the problems that we were seeing. In the founding stage, we were solving for the customer, but basically like the issue that we had was that we were hacking together engineering solutions. So this is not, I would say, this is not about software. This is not about like creating a new process that basically like is going to like be completely automated and basically is going to solve your customer issues. No, this is not. And this was one of our mistakes. The 2 mistakes, and again, I'm going to basically get deeper. I'm going to deepen in this, I would say, mistakes in the next couple of slides, but I just want to show you basically in a nutshell what were the mistakes that we were making in each one of the stages. In the early stage, our 2 mistakes were like the premature optimization of like customer support systems and operations, which I would say led to inflexible and stubborn growth. And also, we built overly deep playbooks for success. And again, I think that this is basically like the advice that I'm going to mention to you. Do not, if you're basically in the founding stage or in the early stage, it is not about processes yet. It will be about processes like to scale in the next phases. But in the early stage, what you want to basically like optimize is learning. You want to learn from your customers. You want to improve your product. And the only way to do that is, I would say, putting a face to a customer team and basically receiving feedback. In the other stages, like the potholes that we had in the mid stage were We created too many specialized roles too quickly and basically fractured the CX team. The big customer success or support team became, I would say, a bad buffer between customer and company. So basically, we were not, I would say, fully aware of like the problems of our customers. Losing, I would say, that connection to the customer, I can tell you, it is actually like not only painful, but it will cost you a lot. So in the growth and scale phase, these were like the issues that we were exploring. In the growth stage, CX became equal to like the CS team. So basically, we were not playing, I would say, like as a team. There were like these silos between our customer success team and basically like the rest of like the HubSpot team. And in the scale phase, like we failed, I would say, like in the very early stage of like this scale stage, we failed to create, I would say, a model that was like synced to our go-to-market model. We lost the voice of the customer on the executive team. And I would say also we created sharp edges in the experience. So basically, like we were not solving for the customer. And this, again, like the story of like what could have we done differently? And I hope that you can actually like learn from this. So what we will do in the next, I would say, couple of minutes is to review each one of the stages. What were the mistakes? And what is our advice? What you guys should be doing in each one of the stages. And I'm going to pause to see if there's any questions, guys. Please feel free to like jump into the chat, ask the question that you might have. I would love to basically like answer any of them. So let's go again. Oops. So in the founding stage, like if you guys are, I would say, in this specific stage, what is going to happen is that okay. What this means, like for your customer support team, is that basically your customer support team will look like this. It should be, I would say, like the two founders and maybe a developer. And this is what we experienced. And this, I would say, like the critical advice for you guys. You are your customer support team if you're in this stage. You should not be, I would say, outsourcing or basically like hiring new people to do this work for you. Because what you want to optimize in this phase is, I would say, learning, as I was mentioning to you. And when I see like you want to optimize for learning, you want to understand what are the pain points of the customer, and you want to like include those pain points in your product. In this stage, most likely, again, you're trying not to build a customer success team or a customer support team. You're trying to build a product that serves customers. And the do's and don'ts for this, the first one would be like, do, I would say, a simple workflow to manage support into one queue. No, I would say, fancy processes, I would say, are going to fix basically, or are going to help you like to create a better product. If I had to advise here, I would advise also like the founders to be like in touch or connected to the customer. And this way you will be able to basically like get all of those learning from your customers and incorporate them in the product. Another do is involve everyone in helping to solve customer problems. So what you want here is for this to be, I would say, a team sport. Customer support is actually in this stage an activity that everyone should be doing every time. And finally, you can use, as I was mentioning, use customer support as a learning tool to establish the product and market fit that you're looking for. The don'ts, the things that I would not recommend to do is worry about efficiency. Like this is not the phase to worry about efficiency. And this is actually like the phase to run unscalable process, manual process, and basically be on top of them. Again, what we're trying to do is maximize learning. And also, I wouldn't be implementing some sort of, I would say, like coding or new, basically like structures in your software if you're a software company to basically like solve for the customer support. This is not what you want. Is actually, again, like non-scalable processes, and that the whole team to be facing the customer. If you're in the early stage, again, the second one, what your team, your support team and success team might look like, it should be like this one. It is, again, like the two founders, the developer, but in this case, what you're having is also you should be hiring a support guy. And by a support guy, I don't mean like you need to basically bring either a customer chief officer, or you don't have to create, I would say, like the position of like a customer success manager. No, you just need like somebody who's in charge of like customers. And basically, these guys should have, I would say, like some sort of like get shit done personality to basically just like take a look of what is the issue of the customer and basically bring a solution. What is also, I would say, like critical in this phase, it is actually like culture and habits. Like in this case, like what you want to do and as complement to like the first stage is not only like maximizing for learning, but also creating a culture that supports the customer. And again, success behaviors, all of your basically culture, the culture and the values that you will be setting are going to be like huge in this stage. Your first hires are going to be the ones that are going to shape the company culture. So also like keep that in mind. And if I had to like advise you how to hire for early stage support, it would be like this. I would be looking for initiative. I would be looking for customer mindset. I would be looking for technical aptitude. I would be looking for to have a strong culture fit and drive. What I would not be looking for, and this basically again based on the learnings that we had as a company. First, this is less about processes; it's more about people. You want a person that focuses on people, not on processes. This is not a task for a specialist. You don't want to create, I would say, like each one of the positions as a specialist position. You want to create generalist positions. And it is less about like business results. It is more about like customer experience. Again, you're not in that phase where you have achieved product market fit. Therefore, what you want to optimize again is learning. It's not about like about the revenue. It's about like, hey, how happy customers are. And in this case, and this, it is also like some of the learnings that we've had in the last couple of years. This was less about like speed. It was more about like completeness. This was not like solving, not only solving the issue right away, but it's also solving the issue for the issue to not become an issue again and to not become an issue for other customers. So the do's and don'ts in this case are first, what you want to do is learn how to hire and manage support people. You want to get support channels and processes under control as well. You want to start with some self-service. So this is the phase where you're moving from you as a founder being the face and basically the main contact with your customers to basically say, hey, how can the customers like help themselves? And also what I would advise you to do is actually identifying customer key moments of leverage, such as onboarding, renewals. What are basically like those moments, and what is the playbook that you want to put in place? Some of the things that I would advise not to do are first, get distracted by shiny objects. And what I'm mentioning here is like, for example, process tweakathons. This is not about like tweaking again, like the process over and over. Let the process to be flexible. The second thing was do not overbuild models and systems because they will be changing in time. You're still a startup. And do not focus on the wrong vocal customers. So you should have a customer base. And sometimes you can have, I would say, customers that are very vocally about their opinion, about the features that you should be developing. It is not about focusing on basically just those customers, it's actually focusing on the average customer. What is this average customer saying to you? What are the processes? What are the pain points? What are basically the issues that they're having? And again, prioritize those and basically solve for the customer. And finally, this is not, again, and I know that I said this like 1 minute ago, it is not the time to build deep proactive success playbooks yet. Simple playbooks will suffice. And in this case, my advice to you, specifically from a founder to a founder, is just trust your intuition. Your intuition will tell you basically what is the best decision. In the mid stage, what were basically like the do's and don'ts? And in this case, mid stage is for companies that have between 20 and 100 employees. And what this stage is looking like is actually like, for example, the customer base should be growing and should be demanding every function to basically step up. So basically, this will be your first, I would say, test. You will be growing. You want to basically like you might be growing actually fast. And if you're growing fast, actually like two things might be happening. The first one that I kind of like mentioned in the last stage is the hiring will be a huge and top priority. You want to like hire the best people. And if you're basically growing like crazy, you will also be hiring like crazy. And also what will be in top of mind will be the growth rate. What is the growth rate of your business and how can basically like, or keep the same velocity or increase that velocity? And finally, what we should be like experiencing in this phase is actually the go-to-market should be producing repeatable and intentional processes that will tell you how to generate success. So this is the stage where basically you're creating the processes. You're basically trying to think about like, hey, how can I automate this? How can I automate basically either my marketing processes, my sales processes? And this is the stage to do that. So what does this mean? For example, this, I would say this is stage for the customer success and for the customer like support team is that you're moving from a reactive kind of like customer success to a proactive one. As you're basically like, again, getting a lot of customers on board, it is not only about like solving the issues, incorporating those learnings, and basically either creating new features or basically like try to basically like do a better profiling of your customer. No, this is also is about you're bringing a lot of company, not only to a company, but you're bringing also like a lot of customers on board. While your mindset shift should be, it is actually moving from a reactive customer support to a proactive customer support. And this is something that I really like. Customer success or customer support should be split in two. One, a reactive, I would say, team that cares about like the issues of current customers, which the naming here is customer support. But you also want, I would say, that proactive team that will be taking care not of issues that are happening, but basically on issues that could be happening and to be sure that basically your customer is happy. And if, for example, if I compare these two jobs, like the support or reactive team and the success, which is like the proactive team, it would be like this. For example, the job is actually just, as I was mentioning, being reactive versus being proactively. This is point-in-time relationships versus ongoing relationships. And if we also like make this comparison, is goaled on quality and speed, while the customer success is goaled on business outcomes. These are some of the tasks. And if we do like, I would say also like a comparison. In the case of customer support, the tasks should be one-off how to walkthroughs, functionality clarification, bug resolution. These are basically like the type of tasks that customer support should be doing. On the success side, what we have as tasks is basically goal-driven onboarding, basically a proactive team that is helping your customer to get at full speed as soon as possible. They should have quarterly goals and business reviews with the customers. And this should be some sort of like strategy consulting. This would be a team that is going to be on top of your customer and asking them, hey, how can I help? How can I basically like educate you, for example, in using the software, using the product? And the traits that these type of people are going to have are also like kind of like different. The first team, the support team, like the traits we're looking for is that they need to be customer experience oriented. They need to have a strong, fast tweet solving muscle, and they believe in your customers. On the other side, what is happening with your customer success team, they should have a business outcome oriented. They should have a strong internal and external relationship, because they will not only be reaching out to your customers, they will also be reaching out to your engineering team or to other teams to basically solve some of the issues that the customer might have. And finally, they should believe in your business. If, again, one is mostly oriented to the customer, solving for the customer, the other team, the customer success, is actually optimizing for the business. And for this stage, the do's and don'ts that we basically learned here, they were the first one was, it is hard it is key actually to hire a key customer success leader that will basically create a vision for the team. The second is, in this stage, in the growth stage, you want to start defining and specializing the customer success role. One of them is actually the separation between success and support. You should also be picking your reactive support channels deliberatively. So in here, you want to understand what are the channels that basically your customer support is going to use, and what are some of the self-service channels that you might be implementing as well. And finally, this is, I would say, the moment of establishing, I would say, a bulletproof playbook. And the playbook, what it should contain is actually the customer life cycle. And this is actually what you want to start mapping in the very early stages, but you want to, I would say, have one clear playbook by this stage. And a clear playbook on this stage means you know how customers are moving from awareness to consideration to decision, and basically what are the tactics that you're putting in place, and what are the specific things that your marketing team and your sales team are doing. And finally, the don'ts, the mistakes that we basically had in this stage. First, getting distracted by cost leverage. This is still not, I would say, the stage to be worried about cost. This is, again, the stage to onboard as many customers as you can, and basically go increase those revenue flows into your company, and hire like crazy as well. Other mistakes were allowing the customer team to become a buffer between company and customer. This is not something that you want. You always want, I would say, a voice of the customer. If it's not in the C-level executive team, it should be, I would say, at least a VP or a senior VP. And finally, the other don't is getting too deep on process lifecycle journey mapping, and creating more than one customer support or customer success function at once. So what you want to do is going step by step, creating that bulletproof playbook, but again, not going too deep still. And yeah, this is basically the advice that I have here. And finally, not finally, we're still 2 phases to go. But I would love to ask you guys, if this is clear enough, if you have any questions so far. Most likely, you are a startup founder that is in the first 3 stages. So I would love to focus the conversation maybe on these 3 stages. If you have any questions now, please feel free to do them. And where I go, event. Okay, perfect. So guys, we're going to continue here. So what we have in here, the growth stage. The growth stage is the 4th stage. And what we want to do for our customer support and for our customer success team is basically moving from this leadership mode that I was telling you before to make things happen to, I would say, a mode that is focused on leverage and impact. So this must be, I would say, a customer-driven mode, and this is what you want to have in here. And What is key, I would say, in this stage is like these two metrics. One is the customer lifetime value, or LTV, and the customer to acquire a customer. And in this case, this would be, like I would say, the two key metrics to understand basically, become a successful startup. And what you want to achieve is, again, to increase the time, the time that customers will be customers, and you want to basically like decrease the cost of basically acquiring a customer. So these are, I would say, like the two metrics that you want to focus on in this stage. And the do's and the don'ts about this stage are, I would say, the following ones. First, if you're a customer leader, so again, we're moving from just like caring about, like I would say, the business, caring about the customer, to not only caring about the business and caring about the customer, to focusing on metrics. We're now scaling. What we want to do is, I would say, increase speed and decrease friction. And the do's and don'ts in this stage is: one, give your customer leader a revenue target. Two, build alignment between marketing, sales, and customer service. Three, and this we're basically like we're implementing system, decide on permanent systems. Decide how basically like your customer life cycle is going to operate, and what are basically the levers that each one of the teams are going to have. And yeah, this is basically like the same. Fully understand customer life cycle and leverage points. What you should not be doing is actually these two things. Make, I would say, this a CX or customer support, customer success, only a job of basically customer support team. This is not. This is actually also work that should be performing by your marketing team, by your sales team, by any people that is basically interacting with a customer. This should be on top of mind. And this is based on culture. Again, customer success, customer support will not be the only team that is interacting with the customer. So how can you basically enable not only your customer success team to be worried about like the customer and the business, and how you can create, I would say, your whole company to be like worried about this and concerned basically what are the metrics. And the answer to this question, it is actually culture. Fostering, I would say, a culture that minds about like the customer is, I would say, like the way to approach to this issue. If you have in each one of like the points where you're interacting with a customer, all of your teams are aligned, this will create, I would say, a better experience, will basically drive happier customers, and will drive, I would say, referrals. And finally, this the last stage, in the scale-up stage, what this means for support and success is the following. At this point, basically, like most of the things that are related to customer success are in place. A list that you could be using to basically like, or a checklist that you could be using in here is you should be having a reactive support. You should be having a proactive success team as well. You should be having a capable leader to basically like create this vision about how to serve customers. You should be having money-based goals for your customer success team, and you should be able also like to have scalable hiring models and profiles. And finally, the two things that are the most important, I would say, on this checklist. You should have, I would say, a broad alignment to how to serve your customers. And secondly, you should have a culture in place that basically cares and solves for the culture, the company, and the customer. And in this phase, it's all about, I would say, again, adding more, increasing speed, and reducing basically the pain points, reducing frictions. This is all. This is what's all about, like the scale phase. What are the challenges for this? If you basically have done everything here, basically you're trying to like optimize basically like the how your company works. It is actually money. Maybe you will be trying to, I would say, do some cut cost on customer service. And this is, I would say, some of the things that you should be taking care of. Even though you want to like increase speed and grow fast, you cannot basically like leave your customer success or your customer teams on aside, because that will impact. Basically, as I was like showing to you in a couple of slides, the math of basically like scaling a company, it is for it to happen, it is critical to have, I would say, lower churn rates. If you're not able to basically accomplish this, what it will happen is that basically the math will fail, and that basically like you will fail to scale your company. And this is again why it is so critical to invest in happy customers. And to invest in happy customers, it means to invest in customer support, and it means to invest in customer success. And finally, like the do's and don'ts about the scale phase are the following. Like first, create an excellent around overall revenue impact, team and management growth, individual performance. Also manage cost by automating. Again, you're trying to, like I was saying, increase speed and reduce friction. And this is related to attacking the market, I would say, fiercely, and also like reducing the friction, either like automating processes or basically like making process to be leaner, to have like less steps for the customer and for your team. Other do's, rebalance resources to higher costs, and finally obsess about details in every human and non-human touch point between your customer and your company. And the don'ts, and if you have noticed, every time that you're seeing like this dot here is basically like the mistake that we made in the past. The don'ts, or the things that I would not advise to do, is one, fall prey to analysis paralysis. Second, lose sight of the sharp edges in customer experience. So basically every change that you're basically like doing in your company might have some cons to a customer. Be aware of them. Do not lose the voice of the customer. You always need somebody who is in the executive team, like to be basically advocating for customers and not for the business. And finally, like, do not let your customer support or customer success model to fall out off sync with your go-to-market strategy. So again, this effort, it is not an effort that just the customer support or the customer success teams should be doing. This is also an effort that marketing and sales should be doing as well. And to end, I would say like this, or to wrap up this session, I would love to share with you guys like this quote, which is, when you're a startup, marketing is your voice. However, when you're a scale-up, customers are your voice. And this is it, guys. Like I think that this is basically like the session that I was like preparing to you. And if I had to summarize, I would say the session in 5 takeaways, they would be this. The first one, in customer success, the when is just as important as the why and the how. So speed matters when you're approaching to customers. Like, are they in what state are you? All of these things, basically, like not only the speed to answer to your customer, but also like the states and what are the places that you want to put in place are important. Second, early on, be suspicious of process because one, it can reduce agility, but also because like you're maximizing for learning, and you want to use that learn to incorporate it, I would say, in your product. And once you have done that, what you will have, it is actually like better products, better services. 3 is, as you grow, there are 2 key shifts in customer success or customer support. The first one, as I was mentioning to you, is from reactive to proactive. So as I was basically showing to you, in the growth stage is where you want to basically like create this division between the customer team. You want to have a team that is reactively like solving for issues, but at the same time you want another team who is proactively implementing strategies and helping your customers. And the second shift, it is actually related to shifting from operational to impactful. And this may mean revenue accountability in customer success. Um, so you want to measure basically the job that basically like the customer success is doing. And one of the metrics, for example, that we're using at Hubspot currently is customer retained dollars. And this is, like, I would say, like a metric that our customer success is accounted for. Finally, the two takeaways. The fourth one is, as you scale, build a customer success team that contributes to growth. And again, like thinking about like the company is not only about marketing, is not only about sales. This is, I would say, the whole customer team, service, marketing, sales should be basically aligned and basically should be taking care about customers. And finally, which is, I would say, some sort of like reinforcement of like the last takeaway, is that customer success should be a core cultural value. And this is, I would say, not just one team's job. This is actually like a whole company job. And this is it, guys. Like we have, I would say, a fantastic program for startups. We have like many occasion sessions like this one. If you're interested, I would say, either in joining, I would say, like the Hubspot for Startup program, which is, I would say, a combination between discounts, education, and tools. Please go to hubspot.com/startups, or just like connect with me. I'm pretty sure that basically you should be having my contact details here through Hopin. And yeah, this is basically it. Thank you very much. And if you have like any questions, I look forward to them.